The day before the wedding, my fiancé agreed to a sham marriage with his first love to help her avoid a family-arranged blind date, and they not only took wedding photos but also planned a grand ceremony. Observing the two in the photographs, I calmly suggested a breakup, yet he reprimanded me for being petty, stating, "I'm just helping out, nothing happened, and how can you be so selfish? I'd agree to help if it were your ex." Subsequently, I married his sworn enemy, and he fell to his knees, tearfully inquiring, "You're in a fake marriage, aren't you?" I smiled, kissed my new groom, and presented our marriage certificate, saying, "Sorry, it's officially registered." Today was the scheduled day for Derek and me to take wedding photos together, but he vanished unexpectedly, prompting me to make numerous frantic calls under the photographer's anxious gaze, all unanswered. In fact, this situation had persisted for nearly a month. Although it was our wedding, I was the sole individual managing the preparations. Derek consistently claimed to be extremely occupied, so much so that he was rarely seen, and he refused to disclose what critical matters prevented him from prioritizing our wedding. I persistently contacted friends, hoping to ascertain Derek's whereabouts or receive a return call from him. However, I discovered his photos on a friend's Facebook, an experience so shocking it nearly halted my heartbeat. In the images, Derek was closely embracing a woman in a pristine white wedding dress, beaming with a sweet smile. As I scrolled further, the photos depicted them in various poses, shaking hands, gazing affectionately, and even capturing candid moments of playful interaction. My heart felt as though it were gripped tightly by an invisible hand, my mind buzzed incessantly, and the images on the phone screen were blindingly intense. The woman in the photos was no stranger to me. She was Nina, Derek's childhood companion, with whom he had always maintained a close relationship. Nina invariably sought Derek's assistance first, and I had even added her on Facebook on his behalf, yet I never anticipated that they, whom Derek described as mere siblings, would appear so intimately in the same wedding photo set, captioned ambiguously by Nina, "My Mr. Derek." While I was momentarily dazed, my phone received a voice message from Derek, "Iris, I'm suddenly tied up with an urgent company matter. Today's the day for our wedding photos, right? You go ahead and shoot, I'll join you once I'm done, love you," he said, though Nina's voice calling him was faintly audible at the end. I struggled to comprehend how Derek could calmly profess "I love you" while simultaneously photographing wedding pictures with another woman. In a state of intense anger, I paradoxically became exceptionally calm, swiftly deducing from Nina's photo set that their location was Laojun Mountain. Consequently, I drove to Laojun Mountain and, as expected, observed Derek and Nina nearby, dressed in formal attire, posing for a photographer and embracing intimately, as though they were the true couple. With each step closer, Derek's smile became increasingly distinct until he abruptly released Nina's shoulder, his gaze fixed on me, his complexion turning ashen instantly, stammering, "Iris, how did you come here? Weren't you supposed to be taking wedding photos?" I meticulously examined Nina's ornate wedding dress and couldn't resist remarking sarcastically, "No wonder you had no time for our wedding photos, you've been too occupied elsewhere." Derek evidently detected my sarcasm, his brow furrowing slightly as he responded, "Iris, Nina and I are only in a sham marriage, is there a need for such biting remarks?" He approached and naturally took my hand, his tone softening, "It's only because Nina's family was pressuring her, and since she didn't want a blind date, I had to assist her. As her brother, when she asked to take wedding photos, a minor request, how could I refuse her? We're just shooting a few pictures and holding a fake wedding, it'll be over soon." My ears could scarcely believe his words, and I sharply withdrew my hand, exclaiming, "What did you say? You're even planning a wedding with her?" Startled by my reaction, Derek stumbled back a few steps, his face paling instantly, while Nina rushed forward, linking arms with him and glaring at me hostilely, "Why did you push brother Derek?" I narrowed my eyes and retorted coldly, "Does it concern you?" "Enough," Derek interjected, standing before Nina with a furrowed brow, "Iris, Nina is my dear friend and like family, I've always seen her as a sister, mind your tone. Besides, I'm just helping out, nothing's happened, must you overreact?" My anger surged uncontrollably as I replied, "We're about to marry, and today was meant for our wedding photos, yet here you are with another woman, even planning a formal wedding, and I'm the one overreacting." Far from showing remorse, Derek asserted confidently, "What's the issue? If your ex or first love needed help in a special situation, I'd support you too." No sooner had he spoken than Nina stepped forward, offering a knowing smile. "Derek may not have told you, but I'm not just his childhood friend, I'm his first love. If I wanted to reunite with him, you'd have no chance. So relax, if something were real between us, it'd have happened already. Since it's a fake marriage, don't take it so seriously." I stared at Derek in disbelief, my heart aching as if stabbed, and said, "Derek, if this reflects your values, there's no reason for us to continue." Derek leapt up in fury, pointing at my nose and shouting, "Are you threatening me with marriage now? Iris, how can you be so petty?" Without another word, I calmly removed my engagement ring and flung it forcefully off the cliff in his presence. Once, during the lowest point of my life, Derek was by my side. I was studying abroad when my grandfather suffered a sudden heart attack, and I couldn't return to see him one last time. Had it not been for Derek, my pen pal, who ceaselessly comforted and encouraged me with warm words, I might have remained mired in regret and despair indefinitely. Upon returning to China, Derek recognized me, and we naturally progressed from friends to partners. Throughout our 3-year relationship, despite his frequent temper and boundary-pushing behavior, I endeavored to tolerate him, given the absence of fundamental breaches. Yet, I never imagined he would use the pretext of brotherhood to unabashedly spend time with his first love, even organize a wedding for her, and then speak harshly to me. I gradually became unable to reconcile the current Derek with the boy whose delicate words once touched me, their disparity growing increasingly stark. "Iris, drink less," Kevin said, snatching the wine glass from my hand with a long sigh, adding, "I never expected Derek to do such a thing." I'd long noticed something off between him and that girl named Nina, but I didn't expect this layer to their relationship. Quite astonishing. "I've already broken up with Derek, don't call me that anymore," I said, frowning. Kevin silently sipped his wine but couldn't resist asking, "But after news of your marriage spread, the Tang and Su family's stock prices soared, how will you explain this sudden engagement cancellation to the higher-ups?" I cast him a cold glance. "Since when did you prioritize profit over principles?" "True, but," Kevin sighed heavily. Suddenly, a commotion arose from a nearby crowd. Squinting, I saw a tall, slender, handsome young man arguing fiercely with another individual. "Iris, isn't that Leon? You know, pfft. Derek's archenemy," Kevin said, pointing in that direction. Indeed, it was Leon. His dispute with the man had escalated to the brink of physical confrontation. Leon gripped the man's sleeve tightly, shouting, "You took upskirt photos and think you're justified? Hand over your phone. Where did this lunatic come from?" "Get lost." The man struggled to break free, but Leon held him firmly. "Deny it if you want. I've already called the police." "Wait and see," Leon said, causing the man to visibly panic, retorting, "Mind your own business. You refuse a toast only to take a penalty, huh?" He violently swung his arm, knocking Leon to the ground, then drew a butterfly knife from his bag, but Kevin seized his wrist before the blade could descend. I moved to assist but nearly had my arm slashed. Seeing this, Leon quickly rose and kicked the knife from the man's hand. I cheered loudly from the sidelines, "Well done. Hold him, don't let him escape." At that moment, police sirens sounded, and Leon and I escorted the man to the station, where he was confirmed as a habitual offender. By the time we completed our statements and left, it was past midnight. "Oh no!" Leon exclaimed, checking his phone in a panic, and when I asked, "What's wrong?" he replied, "It's already early morning, I need to feed my cat." "Iris, thank you for today. I'll definitely visit to thank you in person another day." Leon hurriedly bid farewell and ran to hail a cab, but at that late hour, none were available, so I called out, "It's too late for cars, come with us." Leon looked at me, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. I understood his concern, given his long-standing enmity with Derek and the natural need to avoid suspicion with me. "I've already broken up with Derek," I said calmly, causing Leon's eyes to widen instantly. "Hey, it's almost 1. Are you coming or not?" Kevin urged, and after a brief hesitation, Leon joined us in the car. The three of us sat silently in the car, the quiet so profound that a pin drop could be heard, the atmosphere thick with awkwardness. Leon kept his head down, sliding his fingers across his phone screen to ease the tension. Abruptly, he glanced up at me, then seemed startled by something on his phone, his eyes widening and brows furrowing unconsciously. Noticing my puzzled expression, he quickly flipped his phone over to conceal it, shaking his head and muttering, "It's nothing, really." After dropping Leon off, I returned home and, upon turning on my phone, received several messages from Kevin. "What's Derek playing at, trying to provoke you?" "Iris, you were right, principles outweigh interests. Derek's really redefined my perspective this time." I finally understood Leon's unease in the car. Derek had brazenly posted his wedding photos with Nina on Facebook, accompanied by captions subtly aimed at taunting me. Why are some people so narrow-minded? "A good friend was in need, so I stepped in for a few photos. What's wrong with that?" Derek had written. I had no interest in probing whether Derek's actions stemmed from spite or otherwise, but the incident prompted me to promptly block both of them on Facebook. The next day, I was awakened by urgent knocking. Outside, Leon stood with a large bag of groceries, smiling. "I said I'd thank you in person, and I haven't broken my word, have I?" He casually entered the kitchen, rolled up his sleeves, and began washing and preparing vegetables with a proficiency indicative of routine household chores. Watching him work in the kitchen, I suddenly realized that this warm-hearted, kind individual bore no resemblance to the deplorable figure Derek had described. A lavish meal was soon laid out. Persuaded by me, Leon paused to serve the final bowl of soup, saying, "Come, taste my cooking." I sampled a piece of tofu so tender it required little chewing. Looking up, I saw Leon resting his chin on his hands, gazing at me with concern. Guessing his intent, I asked, "What's wrong? Are you worried I won't eat properly after a breakup?" He nodded candidly. I was about to tease him with a smile when his next words nearly made me choke on the tofu. "Iris, how about we get married?" he said, blushing immediately after. Closing his eyes, he continued in a rush, "My family is no less than the Tangs. Our marriage could be a powerful alliance, beneficial to the company too. Besides, after how Derek treated you, why hang on to one tree? Let go sooner and find someone truly suitable," he added, his eyelids trembling slightly before opening to reveal resolute eyes. "Iris, I'm serious, please consider it carefully," he said, and under his earnest gaze, I inexplicably nodded as if compelled. Fearing I might retract, he suggested we register immediately, though adults weigh many factors, yet, upon reflection, marrying now would indeed leverage his advantages, benefiting company growth without drawbacks. Thus, I arranged to meet Leon downstairs at the company and headed to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Just as we were about to leave, Derek's irritating voice called out, "Iris," approaching with a grim expression, "You blocked me?" The next moment, he glimpsed Leon holding my arm, initially stunned before his anger fully erupted. "Leon, you dare seduce my fiancé?" I swiftly stepped in front of Leon, gazing coldly at the raging Derek and reminding him, "Derek, we've already broken up." Derek stared at me in disbelief, his eyes reddening. "Iris, are you teaming up with him to spite me, acting to deceive me?" "You're overthinking. I intend to marry him," I replied. After my words, Derek's expression darkened noticeably, icy cold. "Your tantrums should have limits, consider the occasion. Threatening me with a broken engagement last time was one thing, but now saying you'll marry someone else? Iris, how old are you? Can you stop these laughably childish games?" As he grew impassioned, his demeanor mixed mockery with disdain. Over the years, Derek remained unchanged, presuming my tolerance and affection meant I couldn't leave him. No matter how egregious his actions, I had silently endured. Now, choosing another, he saw it as mere spite and provocation. who's truly childish here? Derek, how dare you come mock others? I countered. Leon stepped forward, confronting Derek with the proud, fierce demeanor of that night at the bar, exuding regal resolve. Your values never cease to astound me, Leon said. Engaged, yet you take wedding photos with an ex, shamelessly posting them online and calling others petty. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed daily? Derek snorted, retorting, Leon, why play the saint? Admitted you know you can't outdo me, so you resort to tricks to steal my woman. Save your effort, Iris can't leave me. Her feelings aren't swayed by your words. You're unworthy of her, Derek continued. Leon narrowed his eyes, his expression turning grave. Derek, you exploit Iris's generosity, testing her limits to flaunt your superiority, heedless of her feelings. A fickle, indecisive person like you doesn't deserve love. And yes, a few words can't easily undo your 3-year bond, he conceded. But I believe, having seen your true nature and chosen to end it, Iris won't compromise her principles to return to you. Leon, Derek's nemesis, left him speechless and seething with just a few sentences. I hadn't anticipated Leon's indignation over the imbalance in my relationship with Derek, nor his profound understanding of me. Let's go, Leon said, casting Derek a final disdainful glance, pulling me away without looking back. His warm hand in mine filled me with anticipation for our shared future. Without a word, Leon briskly dragged me to the Civil Affairs Bureau, tilting his head with a faint smile and expectant eyes. Last confirmation, don't tell me you regret it. I silently gripped his hand and strode inside. Yet, when it came to taking the marriage certificate photo, Leon grew visibly nervous. The photographer coaxed, groom, smile, be natural, as he stood beside me, fingers fidgeting and breathing unevenly. Nervous? I asked softly. He pursed his lips like a chastised child, nodding slightly, eyes flickering as he whispered. I'm just afraid this is impulsive for you, that you'll regret it later and blame me for clinging to you. His voice faint as a mosquito's hum, nearly inaudible by the end. I gently pried apart his clenched hands, enveloping them tenderly in mine, and said firmly, you're wonderful, worthy of my willing marriage. This isn't politeness, it's my truest sentiment now. Leon's eyes reddened, his face a blend of joy and slight grievance, his lips curving upward involuntarily. With a camera click, his smile was immortalized on our marriage certificate. For the wedding, Leon attended to every detail personally, unable to relax despite thorough preparations, a trait aligning perfectly with my expertise, as no one knew the specifics better than I. Each evening after work, we meticulously reviewed every wedding detail. Astonishingly, our tastes were so aligned that we often chose the same options independently. Amid this busy period, I only noticed while clearing my phone that Derek had sent me dozens of messages in mere days, to my surprise. They were multimedia messages, each containing photos of him and Nina sightseeing, smiling broadly and as intimate as ever, yet these stirred no emotion in me, seeming almost laughable in retrospect. Having blocked Derek on Facebook, he sent these via text to provoke me? I flipped through a few indifferently. Despite their scenic travels, they held no allure for me and promptly blacklisted his number too. Before the wedding commenced, I intended to bring Leon to visit my beloved grandmother, whose health had steadily declined since grandfather's passing. Now residing almost permanently in the hospital, her greatest current concern was undoubtedly my marriage. Grandmother was fully aware of my prior engagement and wedding plans with Derek, so this abrupt change necessitated a clear explanation to her beforehand. Unexpectedly, upon entering her ward with Leon, I encountered Derek, whom I hadn't seen in ages. He leaned by the bed, slightly turned, whispering to grandmother. Upon my entry, a glint flashed in his eyes as he said, Iris, you're here. He rose eagerly, greeting me with the affectionate tone of our dating days, as if the intervening turmoil had never occurred. Even spotting Leon behind me, Derek betrayed no hint of unease. His smile merely faltered briefly before he approached Leon naturally, arms open. Leon, long time no see, how've you been? Before Leon could reply, Derek turned excitedly to grandmother. Grandma, this is Leon, my best friend from college. I mentioned your poor health, and he's kept it in mind. See, he came to visit on his own. Leon's considerate and sensible. If you know any nice girls, set him up. Derek chattered warmly, pulling Leon along, leaving us little chance to interject. Reluctant to argue in front of grandmother, I frowned as Derek seemed intent on denying me the chance to introduce Leon properly, grabbing his arm and saying, "Let's talk outside." Though unwilling, Derek was dragged out, repeatedly assuring grandmother he'd return soon. "What are you doing?" I asked. "What am I doing? What are you doing?" he shot back. Outside, Derek rubbed his wrist, aggrieved. "Why block my calls? And now you bring him to see grandma. Iris, even if you're venting, there's a limit. What's your aim? Aren't you afraid I'll get truly angry?" "I'm not acting. Derek, for the last time, we've broken up. Stop contacting me. Leon and I will soon wed, and visiting grandma together is only natural. You've no say in it. Are you confused?" Derek finally dropped his victim facade, questioning angrily. "It's just about me taking wedding photos with Nina, isn't it? For such a trifle, you sought out my worst enemy to spite me? You've miscalculated. Leon's a reckless playboy, far beneath me. Iris, you probably don't know, Leon was involved with Nina, whom you despise, long ago. He seduced Nina, toyed with her feelings, then abandoned her. Such behavior is scorned in our circle. Don't be fooled by Leon enjoying this new game with you. Once he's bored, he'll dump you like he did Nina within a week." Derek's gaze, like a searchlight, fixed on my face, as if seeking the slightest hint of disappointment in Leon from my expression. "So, what's your goal in saying all this now?" I asked, my tone laced with indifference. "Setting truth aside, even if Leon is as deplorable as you claim, can that erase the pain you've caused me?" "Derek, what surprises me is that even now, you think I ended things impulsively or for someone new. Are you truly clueless, or deliberately avoiding why I abandoned our relationship?" Pausing briefly, I continued, "I don't know the full story of the past, but from my understanding, Leon is rational and measured. Even if Nina was his ex, so what? At least he maintains distance from the past and avoids impropriety. Shouldn't you examine yourself before disparaging others?" Derek's breathing quickened as he grabbed my sleeve, his voice trembling. "Why trust him over me? We were together 3 whole years, Iris. You're so unfamiliar now. You'd never have treated me like this before." I pried his fingers off my hand one by one, replying coldly, "True, we were together 3 years, but that doesn't mean our issues involve grandma or Leon. So, whatever you have in the future, directed at me, leave them out of it. It's best we never meet again. Remember, we're over." Derek stood dazed. Seconds later, he blinked, shaking his head repeatedly, murmuring no, but all was irrevocably settled. Returning to the ward, I found Leon chatting animatedly with grandmother, their rapport suggesting long-lost friends. Seeing me enter, grandmother beckoned me to sit by her bed, grasping my hand with one and Leon's with the other, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Leon's told me everything. I understand you suffered much with Derek. But I never imagined you two would unite. It's wonderful and so comforting to me," she said. Puzzled, I looked at Leon. "You know grandma?" I recalled her mentioning that after grandfather's death, she was dazed for days, with my busy parents rarely present and me abroad. Back then, she met a kind boy in the park who, learning of her plight, patiently counseled her, often bringing trinkets to cheer her, aiding her recovery from grief. Unbelievably, that was Leon. Over time, grandmother emerged from her mourning, though Leon had gone abroad. Now, both were overjoyed, and she chatted with us until dusk, reluctantly letting us go. On the way home, Leon was uncharacteristically quiet, no longer lively, assuming fatigue at first. I couldn't resist asking, seeing his pursed lips, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" After a pause, Leon spoke. "Earlier, did Derek say a lot of bad things about me?" I nodded tacitly. After returning to China, I met Derek and learned of his bitter rival. Though they were once reportedly as close as brothers, their fallout's origin unclear. At that time, Leon wasn't in Haicheng. All my impressions of him came from Derek, predictably unflattering. Later, upon Leon's return, despite our family's business ties, Derek's influence limited us to polite nods. Only recently did I truly connect with Leon, realizing he was passionate and upright, utterly unlike the sinister figure Derek painted. "It's not like that," Leon defended eagerly. "I knew he'd slander me behind my back. You know, I once saw Derek as my best brother, sharing everything, until I realized he befriended me out of jealousy. At the campus radio station, he forced his childhood friend in and asked me to look after her. Given our bond, I did care for her well. But Derek turned it against me, claiming I stole his girlfriend and fabricating a romance. Rejecting such slander, I cut ties immediately. Yet the rumors painted me as fickle and manipulative. Derek's scheme isolated me from our circle, and unable to endure, I left the country." Leon sighed, his voice low. Looking back, I was truly too weak then. Hearing Leon, I was stunned. Who could imagine this now sunny, cheerful man had endured such trials? I couldn't fathom how he survived alone then, yet it all seemed consistent with Derek's character. I asked, "Was the girl who framed you named Nina?" "Yes, the one in the wedding photos with him," he confirmed. Pausing slightly, Leon wrinkled his nose. "I just think, since we're married, I should be fully open with you. Believe it or not." "I believe you," I replied. Without hesitation, I patted Leon's head gently. "I just feel for the hardship you endured. Since confronting Derek at the hospital, he truly vanished from my life, and my wedding with Leon drew nearer daily." Before both sets of parents, we clarified everything early. The families gathered for a lively meal. Leon's parents regarded me with satisfaction, as did mine. The table was filled with harmony, the elders reluctant to part when it ended. On the wedding day, Kevin arrived before dawn, dashing in best man attire, grinning at Leon. "Leon, happy wedding. Let's make a deal. Give me a big red envelope, and I'll work harder finding the bride's shoes to get your wife home sooner." I kicked him playfully. "Come on, whose friend are you?" As we spoke, a commotion erupted outside. Stepping out, I saw Derek, the last person I wanted to encounter. Unseen for a while, he looked utterly exhausted, dark circles, stubble yet forced energy, shouting something. Security barred him. "Sir, no invitation, no entry." "Are you blind? This is my wedding prepared for me, planned for half a year," he protested. Arguing with security, Derek spotted me and shouted excitedly, "Iris, tell these fools I'm the star today. I've decided no more Nina, I want to marry you. I came today just for that." His outrageous antics no longer shocked me, though expected. I didn't want wedding disruptions. I gazed calmly at Derek, instructing security, "This person is emotionally unstable, don't let him in." His bravado halved instantly as he pleaded shakily, "Iris, forgive me, I was truly wrong this time, I want to be with you." I ignored him, signaling security. Leon, hearing the noise, rushed over. "Ty ask you," yet Derek fixated on him intensely. Suddenly, he knelt, sobbing, "You won't forgive me just because of him, right? What's so great about him? How's he better than me? Why marry him? It's fake, isn't it?" Unmoved by his tears, Leon pointed at Derek, sternly declaring, "Derek, if you ruin my wedding, we're done." Seeing Leon's puffed-up indignation, I found it endearing, kissing his cheek and saying lightly to Derek, "Sorry, I'm serious." Derek wept, face drenched. "Why?" "Iris, you can't marry him, clearly, you love me most." I didn't respond or spare him, directing security to remove him. Derek's sudden appearance was a mere blip. We didn't dwell on it, as the wedding itself was paramount to Leon and me. As the wedding commenced, watching Leon approach with flowers, my eyes moistened. This was my vision of marriage's purest form: loyalty, trust, and deep love. During the ring exchange, I mouthed, "Thank you," and Leon, understanding, gave me a doting smile. After the wedding concluded flawlessly, Leon and I embarked on our honeymoon, traveling widely and savoring our exclusive sweet moments. During this respite from the world, Derek and Nina's relationship heated up swiftly, culminating in a bold public engagement announcement. Yet this fanfare didn't last. Their bond soon shattered due to Nina's infidelity, rumored to be her fickleness and betrayal, witnessed by Derek himself. Details I learned casually through Kevin's irrepressible chatter. Upon returning from our honeymoon, Leon busied himself unpacking indoors while I opened a window for air. Spotting a huddled figure at the door, I investigated and found Derek. Seeing me, he pouted aggrievedly, clutching my sleeve, stammering, "Iris, you're finally back. You don't know while you were gone, they bullied and mocked me. You're all I have left, come back to me, please." I gently freed my hand, replying with calm resolve, "Derek, wake up. I'm married and deeply love my husband." "So what? Marriages can end," he retorted. "Iris, even if you dismiss our 3 years, have you forgotten who stood by you during those toughest days abroad? Now I need you, how can you abandon me?" His words drew my thoughts back to the bleak days after grandfather's death. Indeed, his handwritten letters had restored my will to live, yet the Derek before me was a stark contrast to that memory. "Nonsense." Leon appeared beside me, rebuking Derek. "No wonder you were so eager to oust me back then, not just jealousy, but to replace me and pose as the letter writer, right?" His words, like lightning, pierced my mental fog, clarifying everything. Leon stepped closer, continuing, "Iris, remember I said Derek and I were once inseparable? That's when he learned I was writing to you. But I never imagined he'd set his sights on you so early, nor that he'd use my letters under my name to guilt-trip you." This intricate yet logical truth stunned me. Facing Leon, my emotions grew more tangled. Derek protested urgently, "No, Iris, he's lying. Listen to me." I looked at him, the last trace of warmth for him vanishing. "Derek, how long will you cling to me? Let it be. I don't want to recall you someday with only lies in mind." Derek's defenses weakened, reduced to muffled sobs and a faltering "I'm sorry." At home, Leon recounted our correspondence's full story. Shortly after being forced abroad, his email was hacked. Still, Leon remained concerned for me. Returning to find me with Derek, he chose to watch over me silently from afar. As for why he hesitated to reveal his identity post-marriage, he replied tenderly, apologetically, "Iris, I've always felt guilty for leaving without a word, fearing that revisiting the past might reopen old wounds for you. When someone cherishes you deeply, they safeguard your every aspect, sparing you unnecessary pain." Leon asked gently, "Iris, now that you know it all, what's on your mind?" "Gratitude," I said, taking his hand and kissing its back. "Grateful to fate for reuniting us, allowing rediscovery. Fortunately, it's not too late. Cherishing now. Our possibilities are boundless."